Welcome to Did She Really Say That? The podcast by Truth Bomb that teaches women how to be entrepreneurs and to really embrace their cyclical nature and also how to market and track money in business, things that are often not talked about in traditional business marketing and even development of business. So I'm excited. I'm your co-host. I am your host, Chef Katrina. I am one of the co-founders and creators of Truth Bomb Academy and our newest planner, Create Her. So I'm excited because I have a very special guest joining us today. This is a good friend, a colleague, a business partner, a friend, a mentor, just an amazing woman altogether. Hilary has been in the digital space from both social media perspective, putting together marketing strategies, implementing marketing strategies on digital media, operations. She's just a little bit of everything. Not only that, but she also homeschools her three children, is an amazing wife, and I just don't know how she's done it all, but she's been able to balance and really do amazing things. So, Hilary, thank you so much for joining us today on our podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. This is exciting.
It is. So, we're discussing today really what it is and how you've been able to accomplish so much, not only in your business, but as a mom, as a wife. Like, what has that been like for you on this journey? Because when we initially met back in the day, let's start there in this conversation. So, tell us how you transitioned from where you were at, 'cause I know you were in corporate, and then to where you're kind of at today. So, kind of share that journey with us.
Well, that journey, I mean, it started, I would say the catalyst was motherhood. All right. I did start, traditional educated woman, college educated woman going out to get a job in the world. And, you're told you've got to climb that corporate ladder because that's how you're going to be able to support your family. And that's what I did. I jumped in, and then the family started happening, and I realized that no, I can't climb a corporate ladder and be family. Um, and for a really long time, I thought that there was this, I guess, lie that's told that you can be a corporate businesswoman and be a wife, mother, um, a balanced woman. And the reality is that that wasn't the case. There's another way you could do it, but it wasn't in corporate world. So I very quickly started looking for different ways and different opportunities to be able to still earn while being home with my kids. And that was basically my slogan. I wanted to earn while being home with my kids. And it's amazing how that has just come to fruition over the years. But that was the catalyst, it was like I needed to be home because I knew that that's where I would make the most impact for my kids, and I only have them for a short space of time, and then they go off. So it's like, you could always go back, but the time that you have with your kids, you need to cherish that time and that opportunity that you have because you don't get it back. That's one thing that I learned. And I quickly jumped into, I was a network marketer, um, and I was looking for ways to, do that online. And that evolved in that transitioned into affiliate marketing. And it's through learning how to market my affiliate products that I stumbled into the skill of social media. And and everything that needed to be supported around social media. So it wasn't just social media, it was, oh, you need a website, you need to start blogging, you need to start writing. And a lot of my technical background as an engineer kind of helped and supported the ease of doing that. So that's where, I was able to start building websites and started building websites for others, doing social media. And I think the biggest change happened when I joined you in another company and started doing the social media there. And what happened was it was not just social media, but it was the process behind it. And that's when I started to see, that there is a digital process to all online business. Enter the world of, consulting with other companies, other firms in the operations space. Still digital, still helping them manage their social media, but it was now taking operation management and integrating that into the digital space.
Yeah.
Voila, the digital integrator.
Well, and I love that you share that too, along with your journey. I mean, I know it's been, with your kids in there. When we first met, you were pregnant with your first, and so I've been with you through all these years. I can't believe it's been that long, to be honest. Like, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
But I love how you say that, because it really is, there is a structure, there's a recipe to be created in the background behind every business, whether it's your marketing strategy, whether it's the design of how you're taking care of your customers, like that. It all has a very similar process. And I think that's one thing that I love. So explain a little bit more about kind of what you discovered from company to companies that you've worked with. What are some similarities around the operations of that? Like, what do we
Well,
need to know as women to kind of systemize our marketing process?
good question. And I think that from company to company, what I realize is that everybody has a product, a service, and they're delivering something from a customer service standpoint. And it's you're gaining customers, so there is some sort of onboarding process. And that would look different depending on the nature of the business. But you're always onboarding, delivering, and then offboarding in a sense.
Mm,
And there are different aspects of that. Some companies, because it's a service driven company, your onboarding process needs to happen a little quicker so that they're able to feel the tangibility, I guess, especially in a service industry. The onboarding process in itself speaks to what product they're getting, that customer service, the constant communication, and just having that documented. It's like sometimes I've I've seen where companies, they're like, well, each client is different. No, each client isn't different. Each client just wants their service. And that's the thing. So once you're able to identify what the services that you're offering them, you have to have a step-by-step process that gets that service to them as quickly as possible. It's the same thing with, like social media. A lot of people, they talk about how do you onboard social media quickly when the results of social media are so far down. All right. Well, onboarding and making them involved in the process, because a lot of just having them involved in the process, asking the questions, getting them involved in the images, the videos, and all of these things, that's a part of the process of the delivery. All right.
mm,
And you have to try and get that, document that in a sense that this is what we need to do to deliver product, whatever your product is, because sometimes it's a product or service, as quickly as possible. All right. And I think the biggest thing that businesses I see have failed in is not being able to onboard properly. The
mm,
next thing is the delivery, right, of the product or service. Now that you have the customer, how are you delivering? How are you executing on it, right? And in the digital space, that could be sometimes difficult if you don't have tangible products. Tangible products is easy. You ship it out and it's there,
mm,
right? But for the digital space, you've got to document really clearly what are you delivering
mm,
tangibly to this customer so that they know, okay, we're checking off the boxes. And I think from an engineering brain, that was something that, being able to convert what's not so tangible and make sure that there's a box to check, that allows the customer to feel like, okay, I've received what I was
mm.
promised.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a promise. And I like how you talk about that, because I think that is one of the things that when I first got started online, it's like you kind of just throw something at the wall and hope it sticks, kind of a thing. And that's usually where a lot of us start. So we're given these blueprints, these roadmaps, these different trainings for different ways to build our business. And at the end of the day, what really makes the business work is those processes, and just getting that out of your head of how you're taking care of somebody and putting it onto paper. And a reason I love this is that, I was always taught, if you're saying or repeating yourself more than once, like if you say the same thing again to somebody else, like if you said it twice, if you said it 3 times now,
The
create the
process.
process,
Make the
process it
process.
out. So, and I think that's where there's a difference in that. So when we're talking about what you're doing to help other companies, what are you doing to help stay organized yourself? Like, what is it that you found are some tools that have helped you basically stay organized in helping supporting businesses, taking care of your children? I want you actually to talk a little bit, if you can, about some of the, I call them the bloopers of, because I've had this journey with you of planning homeschooling. I think this is really a fabulous conversation to kind of put in here as you talk about how do you build a business and then how do you schedule homeschooling for three children.
Yeah. So that has been a very like really funny journey because like as they got older and homeschooling came on board, it was like, okay, I'm gonna approach homeschooling the way I used to approach my business, right? And I say used to because it's very different now. Okay. You talk about those DMOs and the checklists and everything. Children don't really work that way,
Yeah.
as I discovered, right? But you still need a plan, all right? And the thing is, sometimes you need a plan, but you also have to accept that the plan is going to change. And
Mm,
that is something that I think in my previous way of doing business, I had this DMO, as you call it, and it was like this is it, and it has to be done this way in this order, or else your entire business is going to fall down. And it didn't. Um,
and for
it
those
didn't.
that, I'm going to interrupt real quick. For those that don't know, a DMO is a daily method of operation, is what we were taught. I remember this from way back when. It's like, here's a systematic approach, which the systematic approach does work. I've seen some very big success. But when we started applying it to women and life, and then you put in children, that DMO kind of just goes,
Out the window. It goes out the window. But we're not saying that you don't have some sort of structure.
right.
It's just that the structure is not daily. It looks a little different. So I could talk to where I am now, but I remember, like, when I first started homeschooling, I was just like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to work in these 2 hours because that's what, the all of the recommendations said that, a grade one child shouldn't work more than 2 hours a day anyway. Everything else is just play and arts and craft and everything else, right? So I thought, okay, good. So we're going to school for 2 hours, and then mommy's going to be able to work on her business for, another 3 hours or whatever, and that's our day. When school ends up turning into 4, 5 hours because you're trying to manage three different kids at the same time, you're just like, whoa, this isn't how I thought it was going to be. And then, so I went through a long period of just trying to figure out school. And that's when I transitioned to doing client work that would allow me to work at night. Right? Now, as a woman, as a mother, you're dealing with kids during the day and then you're trying to work business at night. Very quickly, I burnt out. Very quickly, I burnt out. And I realized, okay, that can't work. So we went back to the drawing board and it was like, we found support, right? So it's like the kids were going out 2 days a week and they were home. And that's when I started, packing everything into those 2 days. But that didn't work either because sometimes I couldn't get everything done in the 2 days that they were out because I also used those days to go grocery shopping, to run errands, to do all of these other things. And I was just like, okay. So now I'm down to 1 day a week to do business and another day to run errands. And then the kids are home. I was like, okay, that's not working either, right? Because our clients are not like waiting for us for that 1 day. It's like, you know, they expect a kind of a steady flow. All right. So then, it came to what am I doing? I had to look at what I was doing and I asked the question, okay, what am I not looking at? Because every time I changed, I was only thinking of one aspect of life. All right.
Mm.
I was thinking, okay, so we're trying to organize the kids and then we figure everything else out. But then when you organize the kids, you still can't fit the rest of your life into what's left. And there was a big turning point and I'll talk about, inside of Truth Bomb when we were going through our planning. There was a huge moment when you said, I think it was you, that talked about the white space on your calendar. And I had everything scheduled in the calendar and everything. And then you said to look at the white space. And I saw time.
Mm,
I literally, like, we tend to look at our calendars in what's filling the calendar, but we never looked at the calendar with what's available. And that's when I realized how things could be so fluid. And I had the opportunity to do other things, to do more, and to be flexible in my business. It's when I started looking at the white space,
yeah.
right? So with the kids, all of a sudden, because now they're like, they're not even there, they have most of their days are finished by midday, right? And they have gotten into the habit now of knowing that they have this to do and they get there, they do it. They know when they need me, they know when they don't need me, they know when my meetings are,
Mm,
right? Because they're recurring. So there are certain things that are just recurring in life. They know when I have my meetings, so they know that, okay, mommy's not going to be available during this time. But they also have a concept of the white space.
mm,
And the white space is when they can grab me, right? They know when mommy's going to do groceries. They know when they're going over to a friend. So we've created such a flexible life that allows me to manage clients and their work and my business, right? Because for a little time there, I had just stopped doing any affiliate marketing because I just didn't have the time,
yeah.
right? But when I saw the white space, I was like, oh, here's opportunity. And it has allowed for life to happen, all right, because a lot of things have happened in my personal life, but it has allowed for life to happen and things don't stop. You
Mm,
know, it's amazing how things have happened in life, but nothing has necessarily come to a screeching halt. Maybe for 2 weeks or so. But nothing has really come to that stop where it's like nothing's getting done.
mm,
And it's because of the way that we've approached planning and scheduling. It's like, there's just things that happen all the time, right? And that's on your calendar and it's there. You don't have to change it ever. School happens Monday to Friday. You know when it can happen. Their online classes. You know when. So, but then you have that white space, and that's when you're doing the project work, I call it, or the other work, and it's not rigid. What you see is I have white space that I could work with this client, and I have white space there, and I have white space there. So that has been a game changer for me. What's obviously been missing is some of the other elements, like the grocery list, like, the things that are more life oriented, but at the same time, it has allowed me to see life as a whole, all
yeah.
right, and look at myself as a whole that I'm not just a businesswoman, I'm not just a homeschooling mom. The things that need to get done in the home are on the calendar too. And I don't feel like, oh, that's supposed to be separate somewhere else.
Yes. And we tend to do that. We tend to, and I need know in the planning industry, there's a money planner, there's a business planner, there's a life planner. Like they're all separate from each other. It's like it's not designed for how women's lives go, right? It's not singular because even today I was over at Office Max and I went to go check out their planners and it's all productivity. It's like, what is everything you're going to do today? And there's this sense of overwhelm when you look at everything you're going to have to do. And then you ask yourself, where do I have time for myself? Where do I have time for, for just getting to know myself as a woman, not just being a mom, a wife, a businesswoman, but where am I inside this picture? So,
Where you
yeah. And I
and
think
that's true. That is very true because I've other planners that I've used in the past, they've all been singular. So like, I a couple of years ago when I was trying to organize homeschooling, I bought a homeschool planner
yes, you did.
and it was blank.
Yes, you did. I remember you detailing out to me how excited you were that you had a homeschooling planner. You had all three kids lined up in there. They each had this, like you were ready, set. And I said, okay, where's your business going in there or yourself in there? And you're like, it's a homeschooling planner.
Exactly. So it's like you got this product to walk around with, but that, and I was just like, nope, that's not gonna work. So it's like after a month, I just stopped using it because it was like you have to go back and forth.
Yeah. And it's the constant back and forth of it, right? So it's like, how do you honor what you're doing? And I think a lot of the times when, when you talked about, how do you create that flexibility? And for those that don't know what white space is, it's the blank spots on your calendar. So if you have a calendar that runs 5 a.m. to like 10 o'clock at night, which is what we've designed in there, when you write in where your appointments or your client work in, there's spaces, there's half hours, 15 minutes, hour breaks, things that you start to see open up because we get so focused on the list of things that are on the calendar and we think, okay, that's what I've got to do. And really, it's the space in between, right? It's the times in between that you kind of look at. It's like, okay, that's the flexibility. That's where I can kind of play and do some other things. And I think it's really interesting that you mentioned that because that is the thing that we don't look at. We always look at what we have to do, and we don't look at what time is still available for us and what might that look like during those moments of rest and breaks. Because I remember you said something really funny about a year ago when we were going through. We mentioned white space. I think what was your comment? Do you remember this? That
Well, you can nap that.
yeah,
And it's like
you
I
said he's like, I could schedule a nap. Like, I am taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon to recharge my battery. My kids are getting a better version of me because of that. And it was just cracked me up because it's like, that is the one thing that we women don't ever do is schedule that time to rest or even just like take that 15, 30 minutes just to be by ourselves in the middle of our day because we think we have to be on.
yeah. And like I literally when I saw that because like the day was so there was just this natural break. And it's funny because it's at 2 o'clock, because a lot of these South American countries they have their siesta at that time. And it was just amazing how it was around that time that there was nothing scheduled, nothing to do. And I was just like, I'm gonna nap then.
And then how
And
did
yeah,
you feel after that?
great. Because I rested and then I was recharged for the evening, because you still have a lot of things going on in the evening. So it felt amazing to be able to, because you never would have done that like anywhere else, doing anything else. You can't do that.
Yeah. Well, and it's not in your DMO, then it's not like when you're producing your daily method of operation and everything you got to do, the check mark doesn't say rest.
Correct. No,
Like
it doesn't.
it's not even in the formula. It's just this constant perpetual things and list of things you have to do or should be doing. And we know what happens when you should all over yourself. It just doesn't go well.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's true. And I think the ability to see that white space and for you to show that to me, I was just like, that was a game changer
Yeah.
because it has really changed my energy, my approach, my ability to put. And when you rest, it's like not that it's scheduled, but it's like you know that there is nothing in that space, and you go and you rest, you recharge, and you come back. So, I mean, 100% a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because as women, we have a cycle of energy. We flow through it. It's not consistent like with the guys that experience it. Women flow through a different, energetic phase every single day of the month because we work through a more cyclical time calendar. And so, but we've been taught that this, and this circadian rhythm is the only rhythm that's the rising of the sun, the setting of the sun, and that's the cycle we have to be in. But I know with us as women, we also have the infradian rhythm, which is that more cyclical nature. And then when we are not in that cyclical nature in our season in life, whether it's perimenopausal, postmenopausal, for whatever other reasons, we've learned that even just following the moon cycle, because there's energy that's pushed off from that you can kind of just start like feeling for yourself and just noticing it. And I think then when you start incorporating that as a woman into business, life, family relationships, you really have a different experience of what success looks like for yourself. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It even kind of speaks to what you choose in your life as well.
Mm.
You wouldn't choose things that are going to be against that rhythm after a while. And that has also happened to me over over the years of being, doing doing this business. It's like I've very slowly chosen opportunities that are not going to grate against my rhythm and my flow.
And I think that alignment is something we often overlook as women, because you talked about the corporate world, climbing the corporate ladder, right? And when you're in those so structured time frames of like, this is your productivity period, it's not always a natural productivity period or time for women and to take those things on. So it doesn't surprise me statistically when I hear that women leave and burn out from the corporate industry, like they hit their high, they hit their rank level, then basically walk away from it. And they're, one of the big things we always hear about statistically is that women become entrepreneurs because they want the flexibility, which I think you've done a great job just talking about how flexibility has changed for you, right? And then you look at, okay, well, there's flexibility, and then it's like, how do I make money to help support my family or be that secondary income or replace the income for the family? I think as you, especially for you, tell me a little bit about like between the first child, what did your business look like to kind of as they've grown up, how has your business evolved?
Um, so when I first started, it was just, I think it has been cyclical as well.
Mm,
So between child number one, it was very much affiliate driven,
okay.
right? And financially, I don't think we would have been able to, like, the business wasn't supporting us financially. Um, by my by the second child, I was within the company, and I was even taught to call them my clients, so that you have that proper mindset of where you're going. All right. And we were pretty stable. We were stable there for a while, but that is where I made a lot of connections and opportunities, and it opened doors for the future, and it opened
Mm,
doors for what I was going to be doing now. All right. So there was a certain level of stability, income level rose, and I was learning and growing there and making a lot of connections. And when that opportunity ended, it was those very connections that I reached out to become to be involved in their businesses. Again, that opened even more doors in terms of learning opportunities. So there's always been this stable income, and I've always been a support working with different companies. Yes, it's been in multiple industries, right? Right now I'm in financial industry and a food industry, right? Um, so it multiple industries, but always using skills and each time shifting in such a way that it it fit into my life. One
mm,
opportunity in particular where I actually walked away from was simply because it just wasn't fitting into my life and how I wanted to homeschool the kids, right? And I walked away from it not having anything, and then a client showed up. Literally, it was as if, I said, this is what I need. I need a client to be, able to work with my homeschooling schedule. And it literally just dropped into my lap again because of connections that were developed way in the beginning of my business career, right? And now that is allowing me the flexibility and stability to be able to. The focus has been homeschooling my kids. That has
yeah.
been the focus.
Yeah. So I love how you share that because there's like business evolves. I think a lot of times women, when we get into entrepreneurship, we get in with a product company or service, we think it's got to stay this way. But what you've just shared, especially with raising your three children, that there's kind of a natural ebb and flow to it too. And it's making those choices to choose what's the priority to you around the lifestyle that you want that honors you as a woman, right? Honors your schedule, what it looks like. And I think that could potentially become the new norm. Like, I really do see that as we start to understand what is our cycle as women, how is our energy flowing day by day, week by week, month by month. I think there's a transparency that will become available for women, that it's going to be an eye-opening kind of journey for them to experience that, because typically we're not taught this on any of the business or marketing platforms out there, with the exception of Truth Mom Academy, inside of the course Unlocking My Millions, which you mentioned, around like just getting clarity around what the business you want to be in. And that's really what we teach inside of this, is like, there's a business that you're in, and then it's like, what do you want to do with this business? Like, you are 100% at choice in how you create this. And so you told me earlier, we were talking previously, that you've always had a planner in your life. You were like, yeah, pretty much since I was like 12 years old, I was introduced to a planner. So tell me a little bit about the types of planners that you've had access to over the years.
So my first plan, I'll call it like a calendar, right? And it was just like, a big, like month by month, high level overview. And the thing is, I didn't realize why my mom had given me that planner, because 12 years old, I'm entering that time.
Mm,
She
that
had given me
womanly time.
So she had given me this planner to, put down when I have ballet and when I have track and field and all these little things. But on that little calendar, it was like a little book about like a phone book size, right? The old
Yeah.
time phone book. And it would have the whole month view. And it'll also have like a place for phone numbers, so important phone numbers, mommy's phone number, daddy's phone number, aunts, and everything like that. There'd be birthdays, and then there was on the calendar the moon phases,
Mm.
right? It was the moon phases. So that was my very first one. And I had like every year she would get me one of those cute little book calendar. And then of course you enter your womanly phase. And then she used the same calendar that I had been using to plan all my activities to show me how to record. So it was used to record my cycle and to help me track that. So that's basically where the reason I first had a planner. It was for
Mm.
her to train me to know how to track my cycle. And
Did
I
you
find that
continue doing that? Yeah. So we
it went,
stopped.
it went in different places. Because as we got older, I started using different planners. So, and you spoke about the productivity planners. For the most part, my life has been about productivity until I entered the stage of motherhood. Then it became planning life and checklists and doing all of these things, right? So for the most part, between then and say college, most of my planners were very productivity oriented. When do you have classes? When do you have exams? Um, how many hours are you going to spend in the library? Those type of things. So that's what my plan is. Until of course, enter the stage of motherhood where it's like, okay, you would really like a planner that I could add a grocery list to, but I, I think that's when planners started becoming useless to me, to be perfectly honest, because I could not get everything that I needed in it, right? So grocery list would go on a scrap piece of paper. Kids' schedule would go on the calendar in the kitchen, and then business would go in a planner because most of the planners were productivity oriented. And then enter the word as homeschool, and I already told you about, me getting that homeschool planner, which was just like, it's not. But interestingly, inside of that homeschool planner, there was a space for grocery list, except that it was really small. I was just like, okay, this was the funny thing about this homeschool planner. It allowed for you to have a schedule for up to 8 children, but your grocery list space was this small. And I'm like, what family with 8 children has a grocery list that short? Like, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. That list is much longer, much longer. Being a child of six growing up in a large family, that grocery list was never just one or two items when we went grocery shopping, ever.
So I was just like, yeah, that just didn't work. But I think inside of Unlocking My Millions and the journey that we've had with this planner and now launching Create Her planner, it's going to be a game changer because it is really reflecting the woman's life in business now,
Yeah.
right? I honestly think because there is an element of productivity, yes, but there are also the elements that women need in there so that you don't have to be going all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I think that I'll always still have is a big calendar inside the kitchen because that tells the other half of you what needs to be done. But that's
Yeah.
managing them.
Yes, I have what I call the house calendar. It's the 12-month ginormous calendar. And it's so funny. I didn't realize how much this planner had already been kind of evolving because I had literally at one point in my house, I had a planner on like the wall. I had a calendar, hanging calendar in my office. I had a planner that was open. And like it was all had to line up. Like I would walk with my planner to the big calendar, be like, okay, this stuff needs to be here. I need the bigger picture, because I needed to see how this was all going to flow, especially when you're talking
Yeah,
business, marketing schedules, planning it out. Like I needed to see like how does this flow for the year, not just necessarily a small like
exactly.
snapshot for this. So, and I learned
And I,
that,
that not to cut you, but that is where it has evolved from the daily mode of operation because that daily mode sticks you on one day.
yeah,
But like we need to see things for a year, for a month, for 3 months, because it's so interesting because we have that big wall calendar downstairs. My girls today they looked at the calendar and they were like, "Oh, next week is off." They are learning how to look at things at a glance and see, oh, this is what our year looks like.
yeah. And from a business perspective, and especially from a woman's health perspective, I liked it because I could schedule like, okay, this is where I have business, but these are the times I'm taking off for me to go on vacation or visit family or where am I like we put birthdays. The first thing that goes up on my calendar, honestly, is birthdays. That is like the number one, like family and time off. And I even tell everybody within our company, I said, the first thing I want you to put on the new calendar is when are you taking time off for you? I said, because then we can shift business around that. Because that for me was more important than anything else. And I was very clear upon that when we started Truth Bomb Academy and this whole business. I said, no, we come first, and then we're going to learn how to design as a team, as a group, this business so that it doesn't feel like we're 24/7 in this, but really looks at how does this cycle for us? How does this flow for us? What makes the most sense? Where are we still generating revenue? Where does our marketing game plan? Where can we automate parts of this? Like that I think has been a really interesting piece for how we've moved forward with the creation of the Creator Planner, because the Creator Planner is really designed around the businesswoman, but it's also designed around the woman that is a family oriented or caregiver oriented or wanting to learn how to better match her energy as she goes through her month. And that was really important. It's like when we teach it, we teach the month overview first. That's the first thing. We're like, what does your month look like? Because you got to just be aware.
Of what it, yeah, you can't plan day by day
Mm-mm.
in a sense, like, and that's where that whole daily method used to drive me crazy because then when you come to that day, but you already knew that you had three doctor's appointments, it's like your daily mode of operation just got shot out the window. But if
Yep.
you look at the month, you know when those are going to happen. It's like, okay, so we're going to shift this around and we're going to shift this here, right?
Yeah.
So,
Because we really, as women, we are creators. I say this all the time. I said we are the creators of a human life. We cycle through creation mode every single month. And so most of us are so unattached from that cycling that we experience because we're in this productivity phase.
yeah.
So it's definitely different. So what has been like what are you working on for 2025? What is it that you've been able to kind of start planning or looking at as we move into the new year, which is really right around the corner.
Okay, on the front. Yeah. So my baby project that I think has been in production for a while is relaunching a bit of my it. Yes, it's affiliate, but it's more me sharing a lot of what makes a bright and balanced home.
Mm,
And it is so that's my new website, bright and balanced
I like
home.com. Because it has that blend of everything of homeschool, of mom self-care, women self-care, a little bit of business if you're a businesswoman, and then just home management, right? How do you take care of things in the home and for yourself, right?
Mhm.
It has been driven primarily because of my homeschooling journey and just how I have gone through balancing. So it's not all the answers, but it's a lot of my lessons and a lot of my learning. And then tools and resources that I've acquired along the way that have helped me. And I'm just sharing those tools and resources. And it's interesting how, before, we used to call things like my original website where I was basically selling social media services. But it's like you forget that all you're doing is sharing your experience
Yeah.
and recommending tools and services that have helped in your experience. And that's pretty much what Bright and Balanced Home is all about.
I love it. So we have something to look forward to with your website, following you around a bright and balanced home. What are the adventures of homeschooling mom with, working through your household and what is done. And I know we didn't even touch upon your entire journey of moving, and just all that stuff that's happened inside of all that. So it's just been a pleasure to kind of just see your evolution and know that on this journey, not only was it, with what you learned inside Truth Bomb Academy and Unlocking My Millions, but also we've been at play designing a planner in the background that's now being created and in production right now, right? So that's really tied around all of us, right? So it wasn't a planner that I designed specifically for me and said, this is how life goes. I was always like, Hilary, give some feedback. And you're like, here's this. I asked our community in Truth Bomb Academy, I said, ladies, what do you think of this? And it's getting that balanced blend that is often, it actually is missing from
Mm-hmm.
almost every planner out there because the focus isn't on a woman's life, it's focused on productivity. So
Yeah.
you've got to follow Hilary on a
Yeah.
brightandbalancedlife.com. Find her where she is. She's all over social media. If you're hanging out inside Truth Bomb Academy, if you're in the community with us over there, you can absolutely connect with her there. That's a great place to hang out with her. You want to meet these women and learn from each other because it is together that we really create something truly amazing. And we can share what works, what doesn't work, what's been some of our experiences, take from each other the what we think we can incorporate into our lives. And when we do that as women, we really change the world around us. So, all right. Well,
Thank you for
Hilary,
having me.
yeah, so Hilary, thank you so much for joining us here today on our Did She Really Say That podcast. And I love the insight. And you're probably thinking to yourself, did Hilary really say that a couple of times during this podcast? So please stay with us, stick tuned, and look for our next episode. If you are enjoying this, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We love reviews, we love comments, and we love hearing from you and these extraordinary women that are making big impacts by following their natural rhythm. So, with that, Hilary, it was a pleasure, and we'll see you very soon.
Bye.